We want to play one show, and if we're a band for 6 months, we want to make a single.
Yeah, we'll do a single.
And that was the plan, you know, and that's what we did. And people looked at us like we were insane. By the mid-late 70s, mainstream rock had gotten really tedious.
And then all of a sudden here comes this thing where there's no stage at all anymore. The crowd is just as important as the people up there playing, which was really amazing to me. And anybody can play. Come on. Oh, you guys are in a band? Cool. Come on. You can play next week.
A lot of times in the media you hear about punk rock in America as though it existed from 1976 to 1978 at one or two clubs in Manhattan, and that was it. The thing about those bands is that they were all trying to get major label deals. The real division came when, like, suddenly we came along, and the generation of bands that came with us, there was no part of us that thought we were going to get a major label record deal. It wasn't even something we ruled out. It just wasn't on the table at all.
You just didn't even think about any of that stuff.
In 1975, there were maybe a dozen people in Austin that skateboarded. And we all knew each other. Finding skateboarding was really the first time I felt like I was finding my people. And then the skating helped find the punk rock.
Me and Chris were out skating and decided we wanted to see if we could play Raoul's one time.
And we were talking about, I wonder what it takes to play here. And their response was, when do you want to play? Like, ah! So,
oh, let's get Biscuit to sing, because he's always out here doing doo-wop and old rock and roll.
Biscuit was given a stage and spotlights for maybe the first time ever. The entire reason we kept getting shows for the first 2 or 3 months was because you never knew what Biscuit was going to do. His creative outlet was more visual than musical.
There was one time, and this was kind of near the end, he poured syrup and motor oil and I'm not sure what all over him. I mean, he looked like Sasquatch, and he had literally gone into the parking lot at Liberty Lunch and rolled around in the parking lot. He comes out on stage, and I just remember me and Chris going like over to either side, because it's like there's no way in hell I'm getting close to this.
He's the face. He's the best singer in punk rock.
Wow, that looked like a little bit of fun. I don't think they ever taught that in high school PE. Don't you wish punk rock would have been an elective course in high school?
Musically, the band was Tim and I. In the beginning, it was 70% Tim and 30% me. I owned a couple of amps and a guitar, and but could barely play. And Tim was good at playing, but didn't own any gear.
So we flipped a coin, see who was going to play bass. And that's pretty much how it got going.
Happily, I lost, because I could barely play.
When Chris and I flipped that coin, this is literally what I was playing, is this kind of stuff. And I guarantee if that flip would have gone a different way, you probably wouldn't even be sitting here right now. It would have been a completely different band.
In 1980-81, there weren't any more 26-year-olds who were going to discover this music. But there was a ton of high school kids. So we started flyering high schools. Talked to Black Flag, and they went, yeah, we have guys at the schools who put our flyers out for us. And
that was kind of happening everywhere. You know, it was happening in Detroit, it was happening in DC, and all these people were realizing, you know, we need to do this over here where all ages can come to these shows. I did that one, that's a pretty art, Dada. Yeah. That one's definitely Biscuit.
And we always made a point of trying to find some of those kids and go, so you have a band, why don't you open? And people had done that for us.
Whether we play or not, that's not the point. The point is, this is accessible. You can do this.
Steve, the guy who owned Raoul's, was a software engineer. And he got involved in Raoul's, but he'd never been involved in a club before. But he also had some ideas about controlling things. And then we butted heads with him from the start.
Steve really liked us and the Dicks a whole lot. So he decided what he was going to do was put this record out, and Dicks would be one side, we would be the other. The Dicks side was going to be the X side, and we were going to be the PG side. This was all in his mind, right? Now, he didn't tell us that. He didn't tell us this till kind of after the fact. And then when things would come up, like, oh, well, you can't do this. Oh, that's just industry standard. That's just the industry standard. So that turned into this catchphrase that was like a war cry, because it was just like...
It was very frustrating. Live at Raoul's was recorded in early '81 and released around the summer of '81, and then we did this in the fall of '81.
Depending on who you talk to, this record is either called Industry Standard or Where's My Towel? Live at Raoul's, we didn't really get to have any part of. So we weren't happy about it, and people knew we weren't happy about it. David Bean realized that we were really frustrated, and David came to us and he's going, well, you guys, I'll record it. You come on and I'll record. And that's why this record even happened. A lot of the songs on this thing are written about what happened with the Live at Raoul's. Complete Control, I wrote, and it's exactly what we were thinking. You want us to talk, but you don't want to listen. If you look at it in that sense, then you can totally tell what we're talking about here.
Wants to talk, but you're not gonna listen. Make it seem that we have a choice.
Biscuit, I think he had like 103 fever the whole time. He did a great job. He was really sick, but there wasn't a choice. The time's booked, we gotta go. Understanding that we had no money. I think that the entire Where's My Towel record was done from start to finish, including mixing in 3 or 4 days on the outside. All the instruments would have been tracked live. You just play till you get it. But there was some overdubbing of vocals, and that was about it.
What punk is now is absolutely not at all what we were doing, period. It just isn't, because now it's got a whole set of rules and a sound and a uniform and all this kind of type thing. And like when we were playing, none of that existed.
The punk scene was founded by a bunch of creative anarchists. Do anything you want. But it attracted the most rule-laden bunch of people in the world. How is it possible to do punk wrong? But by 1982, it was real possible to do punk wrong. When the sort of first generation of bands went away, a lot of that guidance went away with them, and things became a little rudderless.
The big boys, the reason that we started falling apart a little bit was because we did what a lot of those bands were doing, where you went on tour for more than 3 weeks. And it's like if you go past that 3-week period on a tour, it's literally like being on a vacation with your family, and here we all are, the kids sitting in the back seat, and I'm doing this to Chris, like, don't you cross that line right there kind of thing, and Chris is doing this, just kind of fucking with you. We didn't break up, we just were gonna take a break for a minute, because we had been in that van for 3 months almost, like touring all over this country, and we were just sick of each other.
The personality conflicts were exacerbated by the poverty. The no money, the sleeping on floors, the never having a place to go home to. For a couple of weeks, that's doable. But for 2 or 3 months at a stretch, the only way to do that is for everybody to have their own space to go to. And there just wasn't the resources to make that happen.
I wouldn't trade any of that for the world. I mean, it was great. We were just doing what we liked doing, and if you liked it or it became something, that's icing on the cake. But I hope I haven't seen the best thing yet. I mean, it's the most depressing thing to me at all to think that people think they've either missed something or the high school, that touchdown pass, that's the greatest thing in my life. It's sad.
I'm hoping that whatever I do next excites me as much as that excited me. Whether anybody else will be excited by it or not is really not the point anymore, especially.
Thank you! Thank you! Good night! We're going to come back from Texas someday and see you again. You're very kind. Thank you.
I believe that you see more than you tell. I said in hands that don't build your own town. You gather up all the things you call your own. A walking bird telephone, you're all alone. accuse me.